DUI is one of the most common charges that are brought probably in all of the criminal system. People from all walks of life get DUI. A lot of people drink socially to relax, particularly professionals that work hard and folks that are really motivated and work hard in their lives. They're the ones that usually are looking for something to unwind with. Just because you receive a DUI or you're charged with DUI, it does not mean in any way, shape, or form that you're going to be automatically convicted. What we do, we prepare a case in a certain way. First, we do everything to get the thing dismissed. We check, make sure the procedures are followed, the statutory procedures, whether or not they read implied consent warnings as they were supposed to, whether or not there's any grounds to completely suppress the evidence that they have against you. And so we send out letters to protect your license. We attend administrative hearings to protect your license. We prepare the case as if it's going to trial. We go ahead and gather all the witnesses and all the evidence. And the more of that information we can gather and present to a prosecutor, the more likely he is to either drop the case or reduce it. It's very easy to be over the limit without realizing it. They have been playing with the limit since the DUI laws were initially formulated. Usually, if you've had a beer or a drink and you drive within an hour, you're .08, okay? Usually it's one drink an hour that you wear off, but if you've had more than one drink an hour, you're gonna be over the limit. There are a ton of defenses when it comes to DUI cases. First, the technical, legal defenses where they didn't comply with the implied consent warnings, or they didn't follow the procedure correctly, which can trigger a suppression of all the evidence, okay? But there's also defenses just in the methodology that are utilized in trying to determine when somebody's under the influence. For instance, if you took a breath test and it's over the legal limit or whatever, what they're really trying to determine is what is in your blood. Because what's in your blood is what's going to your brain and what's really causing the issue or whatever. The problem is the way they try and do it, by not regulating temperature, by not regulating pressure, by not being in a lab setting, so to speak, not knowing the amount of breath there is to blood. All those kind of things make it sort of a crapshoot that they're trying to do and say, oh, that's what's in his blood. And it's just not necessarily so. The other thing is, no matter what your reading is, if your video looks good, you probably have a decent defense. So you may register high, but then your video shows that you weren't intoxicated, okay? Because when you're intoxicated at a certain level, you should start exhibiting certain symptoms. The video shows you don't have it, and that doesn't match up to the level that they say you are, then it creates a significant issue for the jury, and usually they'll quit you on that kind of thing. Just because you've been arrested and charged with DUI does not mean that you can't retain your license if you get an attorney to work on it and do it the right way like we do. One of the first things they do is they give you what they call a DPS Form 1205. The DPS Form 1205 suspends your license within 30 days. If you don't request a hearing and send it a check to pay for the hearing, it's $150. You have to send it into to the hearing section. And when you send that in and request a hearing, then they have to show up to a hearing to try and suspend your license. It's not automatic anymore. And because you file that appeal, it keeps the suspension from going into effect. When you show up there, if they don't show, you automatically get to keep your license while the case is going on. If they do show up, they're familiar enough with us, we generally will work out some agreement and keep your license in effect. In certain circumstances, for instance, like a first offense DUI, even if you're convicted, you can still request the court give you an affidavit of first conviction, which will allow you to get a limited permit, which generally allows you to go to medical appointments, court, work and limited things like that. And then that generally only has to stay in place for about 120 days. And then if you take the courses and take the DUI course, you get your full regular license back within 4 months. We have a group of experts that's well known that are former state patrolmen, former officers, former people that work in the field of DUI. That was their job to prosecute DUIs. So they will come in and look at the arrest, because pretty much everything is videotaped, and they will critique or say what they did wrong and why their opinions are incorrect, and really give us also the basis of showing that if you look good on a video, then probably whatever reading that machine got is not right. Potential consequences of conviction on a DUI depend on how many DUIs you've had. You can get into a situation where after the third DUI, you're a habitual violator. You're actually a felon, even if you just drive on the highways. First offense, it can range, $1,000 fine, 12 months in jail, 40 hours community service, alcohol risk reduction program, attending AA, attending a DUI court. It can run the full gamut of up to a 5-year felony, depending on how many you've had. It's not a game. And here's the real kicker, and what most people don't realize. The real monetary hit you take is on your car insurance for the next few years, depending on how your particular insurance company treats it. But you may even have to get a specialized insurance just to be able to drive, and it will cost you through the nose. It will be extremely expensive. I have been doing this since 1984, and been doing it constantly. And our work has been so good that I've been recognized as one of the top 10 DUI lawyers in Georgia for last 5, 6, 7 years at least. If you're charged with a DUI, it's really simple. You either go to our webpage, and there'll be a way to connect with us that way. You can call 706-724-8537, or you can come to 448 Telfair Street in Augusta, Georgia, walk right through the door, and we'll get an attorney to see you and take good care of you.